Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Noah, and in this video I want to take some time to share my personal opinions on finances within a relationship. I plan on sharing my thoughts as to what I personally believe some of the biggest financial difficulties are within a relationship, as well as some methods that couples can use to ameliorate these issues. With that being said, let's get right into the video. So like I said, this video is all about not only some of the issues financially that couples might experience within a relationship, but I also want to go over some potential solutions and some potential kind of methods that couples can utilize in order to get ahead of these issues so they don't occur in the first place. So to begin, I want to share my own personal opinion on what money means within a relationship, at least as far as the negatives go, right? The difficulties. And I do personally believe that a lot of arguments, a lot of disagreements, and so on within relationships kind of stem from something related to money. I don't like to say that everything is going to come back to finances, right? That's definitely not the case. But I think a lot of arguments do stem from a miscommunication or some kind of difficulty financially. There's a lot of different ways that arguments can arise, but I think one of the biggest things that people nowadays, men and women, are experiencing is that they want more, right? Within a relationship, they want to be taken out more, or they want more gifts, or they want they want a bigger house, or they want to get in a house to begin with, or they want a more premium apartment. They want this, they want that, male and female. So don't get it mixed up that I'm isolating to females or males or anything like that. I think it goes both ways, but that's something that I've definitely seen quite a bit of, is that the couples, they both want a lot, and when there's not enough money to go around, one or both parties get upset, and they look for something to blame. And sometimes, unfortunately, these individuals will blame their significant other, even though it's not generally in their control. A good example that I can think of for this is, when you for this example, I'm going to use the male kind of as the victim, but maybe he's seeing, he's dating a female, and the female in this case likes to be spoiled, right? Likes to be taken out, likes to be wine and dined, and so on. And maybe the male also picks up some of the slack in other areas of their life, right? Maybe he covers all of rent, or maybe he covers gas or groceries or something like that. It could be, the permutations are pretty much endless, but maybe that's the case. And then eventually it might get to the point where her demands in this case are just a little too much for what he's able to do. So he has to naturally break the news that they can't do dinner, or they can't do a trip, or she has to start helping out with rent, or whatever it may be. And obviously, because she has been used to this previously, she's not going to be too happy, right? So this will likely stem into be an argument, which is kind of the big point in this video, is that this is something that I've heard a lot of, from different friends and so on, where, arguments stem because of these kinds of issues. So now that we know a little bit about, some of the issues that might occur, or an example of an issue that might occur due to finances, I want to be clear with what I believe the first solution might be to kind of get ahead of these issues or resolve them as they come around. And the first, the first way, or the first method that I believe is kind of lacking in a lot of relationships, is a sense of honest communication, a sense of candid communication with one another in regards to what each of the individual's finances are like. And this really comes down to understanding, how much they're making, pre-tax, how much is going into, their benefits and so on, and most importantly, how much they're taking home. And I do understand that this is obviously somewhat of a touchy topic for some individuals, right? Because a lot of times we tend to value someone based off of their income, which obviously I don't agree with in the slightest. But it's just something that tends to be prevalent nowadays, just because of how reliant we are on money. And if you don't have much money, if you don't have that much money, you're not going to be able to do that much. That's just kind of the way the world works right now. But Thinking, considering all of that, people don't like to talk about it. Especially males don't really like to talk about how much they're making. They generally, want to keep it a secret. This kind of reminds me of that episode in The Office where, Michael's having money issues and he doesn't want anybody to know about him, right? Because he's so self-conscious about him. He doesn't want people knowing that he's in the hole.
I declare bankruptcy!
And the same thing goes here where, if you're in a relationship, your partner might have a general idea of, how much you're making, but they don't, I think for the most part, they don't know the exact dollar amount that they're taking home. And I think the first step to kind of ameliorate these issues and, like I said, get ahead of them is having a good understanding of what each party or what each individual person in the relationship is taking home, right? It's important to understand what they're making pre-tax and then what they're actually able to bring home to spend on groceries, entertainment, food, their vehicle rent, and so on. The reason I think it's so important to, have this discussion with your significant other is it really allows you as a couple to kind of divvy out the expenses that are going to come your way if you're not already living together, that are going to come your way in the future. Once you start cohabitating, I think it's very fair to allocate expenses equally, especially if you're making very similar money. Obviously, there are exceptions where one party might be making, $150,000 and the other person might be making, the median amount, which is, $55,000, whatever it is, depending on the state. And in that case, sure, I think there's room for a little bit of variability depending on what the expenses are, rent and groceries, for example. But generally speaking, from my experience, a lot of individuals, their couples and so on, are making pretty similar money. The median, if they're right in the median, both parties generally tend to be right in that median. But of course, in order to divvy out expenses that are going to come up as a couple, it's really important to understand what's fair for both individuals. Like I said, if you guys are both making the same amount of money, I think it's fair to split rent down the middle, right? Split utilities and Wi-Fi and so on down the middle, to split groceries down the middle and so on, because I feel like that is that can, having an unequal pay scale or expense scale, having an unequal amount that each person is putting into expenses that they're using together is more than likely going to eventually cause some financially based arguments. The other reason why I believe communication is really at the heart of having a financially successful relationship is that you need to have a honest discussion of what each of you want throughout life, right? And obviously, if you start dating in your 20s, you have quite a bit of time to go, but it doesn't hurt to have the discussion as early as possible. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that you need to have a discussion about what they want, when they're 55 or 60 on the first date. Although that does sound like a pretty nice first date to me, that's obviously not the same for everybody else. But generally speaking, once you commit to someone, once you can see them as a long-term partner, I think it's a thing. I think it's a solid idea to have a discussion of what they want. And what I mean by when I say what they want is, what type of retirement do they want? Do they want a early retirement? Do they want do they want a house? How big does the house, how much do they want to spend on the house? How big does it have to be? How often do they want to take trips? And, what kind of car do you want? And so on. Because when you have this conversation early on, it really sets the tone for what each individual needs to be doing with their finances as they go through their relationship. I want to give you an example. So let's say there is a couple, right? So they just start dating and they're having this discussion. Maybe the guy or girl saw this video of mine and they thought it'd be a good idea to have this discussion. So they say to the guy says to the girl, what type of life do you want? When do you want to retire? When what do you want for this? What do you want for that? And, the girl says, I want an early retirement. I want this. I want that. I want this. And the guy says, that's great. I want the same thing, right? So they have this really nice discussion. They both want the same things in life and they start dating. But sometime down the road, if maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year, maybe it's 2 years or 3 years, whatever it is, they do a check-in, right, to kind of see what each individual is putting towards this end goal for the two of them, right? Obviously, if they want a early retirement, they need to be putting quite a bit of money, away into, investing, likely. And what if they do a checkup at some point, and one person is fulfilling their side of the bargain, right? So for the simplicity, maybe they're maxing out their 401k and they're maxing out a Roth IRA and maybe doing even a little bit of extra investing on the side, which is admirable. And they check in, whoever it is, guy or girl, they check in with their partner, and maybe they're not doing anything, right? Maybe they're taking all of that money and going, spending it on frivolous activities or toys, or going out for dinners, or whatever it may be. Obviously there's going to be this disconnect, right? Because one party is working towards the goal that they both want, while the other individual is kind of slacking off, or having enjoying the money that they're taking home. So this situation inevitably will lead to quite a bit of conflict, because it comes down to not being fair, right? Despite the fact that they had a honest discussion of what they both wanted in life, one party is not fulfilling their side of the bargain. Now, obviously, there are exceptions to this. Hypothetically, if there was like a medical emergency, right, and bills needed to be paid, obviously, it'd be harsh for one of the partners to say, hey, you're not investing or saving as much as you should be for us. You need to do more. That might be a little bit harsh, right? But if one of the parties is fulfilling their side, and the other individual is having fun, going on trips, buying expensive things for no reason, that is going to cause an issue. Now, on the flip side of this, let's say, two people, you and your significant other start dating, or whoever starts dating, and they have this honest discussion, and they both are on the same page where they want an early retirement, they want a very comfortable retirement, they want to leave the workforce as early as possible to actually focus on some important things in life, and they kind of touch base to see how each other are doing, and they check in, and they one person says, oh yeah, I maxed out my 401k this year. I invested the maximum contribution amount in my Roth IRA at the beginning of the year. I'm doing pretty solid. And the other person says the exact same, right? This is a financially successful relationship where both parties are fulfilling their side of the bargain, right? They agreed to work together to have a early retirement or a comfortable retirement, whatever it is, and they're working towards it. Now, obviously, there are some caveats to consider for this, because we don't exactly know what type of economic state the world is going to be in 50 years, 40 years, or whatever. So we can only prognosticate, right? We can only hypothesize what the world is going to be like, but that doesn't necessarily mean we shouldn't, max out our investment accounts to try to reach, an early retirement, or have quite a chunk of change to spend in retirement as well. So the last method I think that I'm going to share, the last way that couples can really level up their financial health, is just being honest with one another, right? I think honesty is at its key for many things in life, but as far as finances and relationships go, it's really at the heart of it, right? I think being honest with where you are financially, and what you're able to do financially, how much you're able to contribute, and how much you think you'll be making, and so on. That is really a driver of financial success in relationships. So as an example, if you can't afford to pay for something, right? If you can't afford to pay for a dinner because you've got money going, into your benefits, your 401k or your investment account, or you have an expense coming up, you need to be honest about that, right? Don't bite the bullet just because you feel like, you're the man, so you need to fit a bill. Be honest and say, hey, can we go 50-50 on it? I think there's a saying, there's kind of a cool way of saying go Dutch. I think it's called going Dutch on something. I don't really know, but That's just one example. And there's so many others that I could give that the video would be too long, but definitely I think being honest with one another as to, what kind of, how much money you have to spend, right? What kind of trips you can afford to go on, how often you can afford to go out to eat, and everything in between. You need to be completely candid with one another, because that is going to, it's going to increase the trust, right? It's going to increase the trust between the two of you. And just because you're not doing fancy things doesn't necessarily mean you guys are going to have a boring relationship or anything like that. So there you have it. Those are just a few of my personal opinions on what I believe might cause some financial issues within a relationship, as well as some methods that couples can use to ideally get ahead of these issues or fix them as they come along. But of course, I want to hear from the viewers as well. What do you guys think are some reasons that financial difficulties arise within a relationship, as well as some ways that couples can ideally fix these issues or get ahead of them before they occur? Please let me know in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts. As always, if you've stuck along this far in the video, I want to thank you so much for your time. I greatly do appreciate it. And as always, happy financing.